John Owen quotes on sin and temptation. On temptation. Let our hearts admit, I am poor and weak. Satan is too subtle, too cunning, too powerful. He watches constantly for advantages over my soul. The world presses in upon me with all sorts of pressures, pleas, and pretenses. My own corruption is violent, tumultuous, enticing, and entangling. As it conceives sin, it wars within me and against me. Occasions and opportunities for temptation are innumerable. No wonder I do not know how deeply involved I have been with sin. Therefore, on God alone will I rely for my keeping. I will continually look to Him. If we do not abide in prayer, we will abide in temptation. Let this be one aspect of our daily intercession. God, preserve my soul, and keep my heart and all its ways, so that I will not be entangled. When this is true in our lives, a passing temptation will not overcome us. We will remain free while others lie in bondage. To believe that He will preserve us is, indeed, a means of preservation. God will certainly preserve us, and make a way of escape for us out of the temptation, should we fall. We ought to pray for what God has already promised. Our requests are to be regulated by His promises and commands. Faith embraces the promises, and so finds relief. Steadfastness in believing doth not exclude all temptations from without. When we say a tree is firmly rooted, we do not say the wind never blows upon it. Temptations and occasions put nothing into a man, but only draw out what was in him before. Temptation is like a knife, that may either cut the meat or the throat of a man. It may be his food or his poison, his exercise or his destruction. Our great pattern hath showed us what our deportment ought to be in all suggestions and temptations. When the devil showed him, quote, all the kingdoms of the world and all the glory of them, unquote, to tempt him withal, he did not stand and look upon them, viewing their glory, and pondering their empire. But instantly, without stay, he cries, Get thee hence, Satan. Meet thy temptation in its entrance with thoughts of faith concerning Christ on the cross. This will make it sink before thee. Entertain no parley, no dispute with it, if thou wouldst not enter into it. On sin. Sin aims always at the utmost, every time it rises up to tempt or entice. If it has its own way, it will go out to the utmost sin in that kind. Every unclean thought or glance would be adultery if it could. Every thought of unbelief would be atheism if allowed to develop. Every rise of lust, if it has its way, reaches the height of villainy. It is like the grave that is never satisfied. The deceitfulness of sin is seen in that it is modest in its first proposals, but when it prevails, it hardens men's hearts, and brings them to ruin. Let no man think to kill sin with few, easy, or gentle strokes. He who hath once smitten a serpent, if he follow not on his blow until it be slain, may repent that ever he began the quarrel. And so he who undertakes to deal with sin, and pursues it not constantly, to the death. Do you mortify? Do you make it your daily work? Be always at it whilst you live. Cease not a day from this work. Be killing sin, or it will be killing you. The custom of sinning takes away the sense of it. The course of the world takes away the shame of it. The vigor and power and comfort of our spiritual life depends on our mortification of deeds of the flesh. He that hath slight thoughts of sin never had great thoughts of God. When sin lets us alone, we may let sin alone. But as sin is never less quiet than when it seems to be most quiet, and its waters are for the most part deep when they are still, so ought our contrivances against it be vigorous, at all times and in all situations. The choicest believers, who are assuredly freed from the condemning power of sin, ought yet to make it their business all their days to put to death the indwelling power of sin. There is no death of sin without the death of Christ. To labor to be acquainted with the ways, wiles, methods, advantages, and occasions of the success of sin is the beginning to this warfare.